Good morning. Good morning and welcome to Plymouth High School for our annual Veterans Day Program. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, a temporary cessation of hostilities was declared between the Allied nations and Germany in the First World War. Commemorated as Armistice Day the following year, November 11th became a legal holiday in the United States in 1938. In the aftermath of World War II and the Korean War, Armistice Day became Veterans Day, a holiday dedicated to American veterans of all wars. In recognition of Veterans Day, Plymouth High School holds this annual convocation, reflective of our desire to thank all veterans, past and present, for their patriotic service to our country. At this time, I ask that you please stand as our Crimson Connection, under the direction of Mr. Ryan Van Antwerp, sings our national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure this morning to introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. Gordy Holloway. Gordy is a 2010 Plymouth High School graduate. Following high school, Gordy attended the United States Coast Guard Academy and graduated in 2015 with a Bachelor's of Science in Management, along with commissioning as an officer in the United States Coast Guard. Lieutenant Holloway, his first assignment was a 378-foot U.S. Coast Guard cutter midget out of Seattle, Washington. He was assigned as a desk watch officer and also served as a law enforcement officer, boarding officer, and pursuit mission commander in law enforcement and counter-narcotics missions. In 2017, Lieutenant Holloway was assigned as the commanding officer of the 87-foot Coast Guard cutter named Sailfish out of Grand Isle, Louisiana. While there, his crew supported missions of search and rescue, law enforcement and fisheries, ports, waterways, and coastal security along the Louisiana coast and up to the Mississippi River. Lieutenant Holloway is now proudly attending the University of Notre Dame, where he is pursuing his master's in business administration and finance through the Coast Guard's Financial Management Program. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a very warm welcome home to Gordy Holloway.
How's everybody doing? All right, well, it's good to be back. It's good to be back. Good morning, Plymouth High School. Thank you so much for having me here to join you all today as we take the time to celebrate the veterans of this incredible country that we live in. For those of you that don't know me, I know Mr. Condon just gave a little introduction, but I'll go ahead and reiterate a little bit. I was sitting near your seats about 10 years ago, back when Kendall Himes was probably about half his current size. When I graduated in 2010, I was given the incredible opportunity of attending the United States Coast Guard Academy in New London, Connecticut, where I was able to continue playing football and eventually graduate as an officer in the world's best Coast Guard. Fresh out of the academy in 2015, I was assigned to the Coast Guard Cutter Midget out of Seattle, Washington, and from there assigned as the commanding officer of the Coast Guard Cutter Sailfish out of Grand Isle, Louisiana. Now I find myself in a very unique position, as the Coast Guard has selected me to be a part of their financial management program, so I'm back at school, quite literally living out a childhood dream of mine, working to get my master's in business administration and finance from the University of Notre Dame. Go Irish. Okay, there we go. There we go. I tell you all my background because I want to highlight the incredible opportunities that the service has provided to me. As a lieutenant in the Coast Guard, I can't think of any other direction I would have wanted my career to go to this point. And I cannot say enough about how incredible my personal opportunities have been. However, I'm here to tell you that opportunity comes with a lot of sacrifice in between. Sacrifice is a very heavy term used amongst all service members of all the American Armed Forces. Uniformed military members sacrifice their energy, time, holidays with family members, personal health, and sometimes in the worst of situations, they sacrifice their lives fighting for this great nation. There is always someone standing to watch, ensuring America is safe, no matter the time or day. And it's important for all of us to recognize the efforts of our veterans and the active duty service members. My personal journey is just one of the many, and they're all unique. However, I would venture to guess that there's always one commonality you're going to find when getting the story from a veteran about their time in service, and that commonality would be the people that they served with and alongside. There is never a mission or task that has been achieved that's worthy of a story that doesn't entail the inclusion of other members of the team working together to accomplish the desired outcome. The people are what gets you through to the next meal in boot camp. They're the ones who are there for you when you're missing home, and they're the ones fighting along your side when called upon. The United States of America has developed some of the best people in our country's history through our armed forces. And that's why we are well known throughout the world as the country with the most powerful and active military force. The people of all 5 of our military branches are doing some of the most incredible things to continue to progress, as we continue to develop ways to remain the best in the world. As an active duty service member, I can truly say that I would not be standing up here in front of you all today without the help and guidance from my fellow brothers and sisters in the service. It's truly the calling to be a part of something bigger than yourself that draws us all, and it continues to be the reason why we wake up and put on the uniform every single day. So, on this day, I ask all of you that have any friends or family members that have served or are currently serving now, to please reach out and let them know that you appreciate them. Let them know that the sacrifices that they have made for their country haven't gone unnoticed, and that their call to service is truly one with honor. The United States of America is truly the greatest country in the world, despite what you may be seeing in the news today. I promise you, it still is. The single most important reason why our country is so great is because of the men and women who have fought to make that possible. So as an active duty service member standing in front of you today, I want to personally thank all our prior service members for setting the precedence. Thank you for everything you've done for our great nation. I promise you that the watch will continue to be stood properly. To Plymouth High School, thank you so much for thinking of me and having me back to join you on this great day. Please, I urge you to reach out to a veteran today and simply say thanks. It will mean more than you could possibly know, and I wish you all the very best of luck in all your future endeavors. Thank you, and happy Veterans Day, and go Rockies. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordy. I can't tell you how proud that I am of you and how excited I was when I saw that the student government had selected you to be our keynote speaker today. It gives all of us great pride to see our graduates come back and to listen to one give such a powerful message, and to be humble enough to say thank you to the special group seated before us is even greater. Another round of applause for Gordy. I will share with you that Gordy's life has certainly not slowed down, and his demands have even increased. As a student at the Notre Dame School of Business, the Mendoza College, those demands are continuous. Gordy will be leaving at some point during the presentation this morning because he is required to attend class today. So if you see Gordy exit, that's why. At this time, it gives me great privilege to introduce another special guest this morning, Mayor Mark Sennert. Mayor Sennert is a continuous presence in our school. He is constantly advocating for our students and finding ways to partner with them to develop future leaders for our community of Plymouth. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Mark Sennert.
Good morning, thank you, Mr. Condon. First of all, I would like to ask for all the World War II veterans to stand, please, if you can, or raise your hand if you can stand. World War II? Mr. Davis? These gentlemen are in their mid-90s, so we appreciate your service, not taking anything away from any of the other service members, but to me, this is special. Again, I'd like to thank Mr. Condon and his staff for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Condon began his reign here at PHS just a few months before I was sworn in as mayor. I truly appreciate him asking me to address the students of Plymouth High School. It's good to be back. This truly is one of the events that I absolutely love. And welcome back to Coast Guard Lieutenant Gordy Holloway, who is a 2010 graduate of PHS with my son, Riley. I'm not a veteran. However, veterans mean a lot to me, my family, our city, and of course this nation of ours. My dad, Wayne Center, graduated from Speedway High School on the west side of Indianapolis in 1943 and joined the U.S. Army a few weeks later. He was barely 18 years old. He was barely 130 pounds. After boot camp at Fort Dix, New Jersey, he left for North Africa and Italy in the fall of 1943 and returned to the States on Christmas Day, 1945. Over 2 years away from family, friends, and home. I'm going to repeat that. Over 2 years away from family, friends, and home. Wayne Center, like so many other World War II vets, did not speak of the horrors that he saw for those years away from home. He was a U.S. Army medic, so he often saw the worst of the worst. Dad passed away on Christmas Eve, 2010, at the age of 85. But in his 70s, he wrote several memoirs about his time overseas. Here is just a sampling of one of those, a story that he called A Soldier Comes Home. I will never forget December 25th, 1945. 10 days earlier, the huge aircraft carrier, the USS Randolph, had left Naples, Italy, bound for New York, with 6,000 homesick troops on board. In addressing the troops before sailing, the captain stated, "We'll be home for Christmas." It's a wonderful feeling as the giant ship glided gracefully through the grayish-blue water of New York Harbor. The flight deck was covered with thousands of joyous GIs, all craning and stretching their necks to get a glimpse of the good old USA. Despite encountering one of the worst Atlantic storms in the years, the captain had kept his word. As we slipped slowly into harbor, a small boat pulled alongside, and a band began playing Christmas carols, Christmas songs. I had been dreaming and praying for this day all the way from Casablanca to Iran and from Naples to the Alps. For 2 years, my only thoughts were to return one more time to the United States of America. Now all my prayers and hopes were actually coming true. I noticed on shore the stream of automobiles going to and from the mainland. I had forgotten that there were any vehicles besides jeeps, trucks, and tanks. Next I saw the Statue of Liberty standing silently, welcoming us home. Then, as the little tugboats came alongside and maneuvered us into the dock, I saw thousands of people jammed to the road, on the roadway, waving and cheering us home. Yes, that was the greatest day of my life. It is quite impossible to explain the wonderfully happy and at times sad feelings of returning home after being away for what seemed an eternity. Wayne Center, 1925 to 2010. Thank you.
My name is Haley Church, and I have the privilege of planning this program along with the class officers who are seated over here. They came nice and early to serve breakfast to the veterans, and it's just a privilege to have this opportunity. We're thankful that our school plans this program, and we chose a video that we'd like to share. It talks about what it means to be a veteran.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I say your name. Do solemnly swear. Support and defend. The Constitution of the United States. Against all enemies. Foreign and domestic. And will bear true faith. And allegiance to the same. That I will obey. The orders of. The President of the United States. And the orders of. Those officers appointed over me according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God.
Veterans Day on the anniversary of the armistice that ended World War I. The armistice that began the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th gave up their chance to be revered old men. They gave up everything for our country, for us. And all we can do is remember. I will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. In memory of those who gave the last full measure of devotion, may our efforts to achieve lasting peace gain strength. Let us make a vow to our dead. Let us show them by our actions that we understand what they died for. Strengthened by their courage, heartened by their value, and born with their memory, let us continue to stand for the ideals for which they lived and died.
The next part of our program is something new this year. We have not done this before, and I'm sure that the students that I'm going to ask to stand and be recognized are probably not aware that I'm going to ask them to do so. Our student government, along with our sponsors, Mrs. Church and Mrs. Flynn, as well as myself, felt that it was pertinent and so important to recognize those members of our student body who either have committed their future service to our country or are about to. So I ask that the following students please stand where you are currently seated. Please hold your applause until the last student has his or her name introduced. Please stand again as I introduce your name. Hannah Talaga, Taylor Judd, Carson Spade, Kane Howard, Zandra Kurtz, Braden Daly, and Alyssa Britton. Please join me in applauding the citizens of Utah. The next part of our program is perhaps even more special than several of the other parts, if that's at all possible. But this is a part where we celebrate the commitment, the service that was provided to us by our veterans who are seated before us. And to do that, our orchestra and our choir combine their musical skills by playing in medley and eloquent songs. I ask that the veterans, when you recognize your branch of song being played, I ask that you please stand and honor that song. And it's okay when that group of veterans stands. It's okay for us to clap in support of what they've done for us. So at this time, our orchestra, led by Ms. Jody Callender, and our choir, led by Mr. Van Antwerp, will play for us a medley of military songs.
Before we sing that medley, the choir would like to sing a song called Three Patriotic Treasures.
Free. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the presentation of the wreath. Presenting the wreath this year will be retired Navy Senior Chief Joseph Faulstich, who is also my brother. I ask that you stand at this time and remain standing for the playing of taps.
Please be seated. This brings our program to near close. I have several people to thank. First of all, special thanks to Gordy Holloway, once again, our keynote speaker, along with Mayor Mark Sender. A round of applause for those two for enlightening our program. Special thanks also to Mr. Faulstich and his sister Jane for presenting a lifetime memory moment for their family, as well as adding tremendously to our program today. Thank you to those two. Special thanks to Mrs. Church, Mrs. Flynn, and our class officers for organizing today. Again, always one of our greatest days of celebration, which offers us the ability to give thanks to those who went before us, gave their service to our country, so that we could enjoy the freedom and the lives that we do. Please join me in congratulating and thanking the military veterans who are with us here today. So many lessons for our children to learn from those who have given, in what many cases was the ultimate sacrifice, took times away from their family, from their hometowns, made the decision to have their lives interrupted to give the ultimate in service to their country, to the communities in which they came from. I'm blessed to have my dad here today. My father is 90 years old. He's a Korean War veteran. This is always a highlight for me. It's always a highlight of my father's. Dad, please raise your hand and say hello to my kids. For my father, like so many of you who are joined with me this morning and learning this great lesson in life, My father taught me to be humble, and he taught me to make decisions in the best interest not of myself but in others. And that is what these great people learn to do, and they make it their norm, a part of their everyday existence. And for that, I am forever grateful, Dad. Thank you. As we come to closure here today, we would be remiss if we didn't take this opportunity, this special opportunity, to come down to the floor when we adjourn, to please say thank you for the sacrifices that these great men and women have given for you and I. So please feel free to do that, students and teachers. This concludes our program for this year. I thank our students for being everything that we expect you to be once again. You never cease to amaze me, and I can't tell you how proud of you I am again. Thank you for a great Veterans Day program. Thank you everyone for attending. Students, you will dismiss to period 1. Thank you.